A new Reuters poll indicates that we like to self-segregate here in the U.S. It's been decades since desegregation happened, but it doesn't matter. We're doing voluntary segregation. In fact, we have some statistics to prove it. So here are some of the statistics that really blew me away. About 40% of white Americans do not hang out with anyone other than white Americans. So they don't have any friends or family members that are of a different race.
That's a stunning number, man. That's so high.
So for us, it's a stunning number because we live in our little Los Angeles bubble. I mean, if you're living in the coasts, like it's much more likely that you have a diverse group of friends. But when you think of middle America, it isn't that uncommon. I mean, I think, of course, it's self-segregation, but it's not as diverse as it is in like New York or LA.
No, I understand that. And look, and the number is 25% for non-whites.
Exactly.
That's also pretty high, and obviously it's lower than whites because they're in the minority, so they almost can't avoid white folks, right? I don't know if they want to avoid them or not, but they can't. And so, but even then, I'm surprised at 25% being that high. So look, I don't like this self-segregation. I remember walking into the lunchroom, and maybe because there was no Turks to sit with, but it never even occurred to me, right? I'm like, why are the black kids all sitting in one place and the white kids are sitting in one place? And in my high school, it wasn't that bad. In college, it was actually far more significant. And my high school being really multicultural, like Indian, Asian, black, white, Jewish, etc., like to see that segregation, self-segregation in college kind of blew me away a little bit.
There was a lot of self-segregation in my high school, and I went to a super uber lib high school. I mean, we had like John Lennon murals all over the place. Like we had Peace Day. We didn't have a gym. We had a farm.
Oh, Jesus
Okay.
Christ.
So that
Were
just
you
gives
force-fed oats every day and forced to hug 3 trees per day?
So that gives you a sense of how liberal my high school was, but there was definitely self-segregation going on there. Like the Armenians, we had a huge Armenian population. They would hang out with one another, and then the black students would hang out with one another, white students, etc. You get it. But which group do you think I hung out with?
The Latinos.
Definitely.
Yes.
and it's weird because there was a little bit of resentment and bitterness from like the Armenian group in my high school. Like, why doesn't she want to go to our parties and hang out with us? I'm like, well, the Hispanics have the hot guys.
Okay, gee, I wonder why they were resentful about that. I can't quite piece it together.
I'm just kidding.
No, but you're right, but that's part of what leads to self-segregation. This idea of like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you hang out with your own? Well, my own isn't my race. It's people who think like me.
Exactly.
And it drives me crazy that people can't grasp that. Now, look, minorities will say, it's easy for you to say, but there's also this we have all sorts of pressure and sometimes racism against us, etc. And it's just more comforting to hang out with people that have the same background and have gone through the same experiences. Now, I understand that, but I think we just all of us have to work a little harder to find some common ground. So those numbers are a little disappointing. And then one other important aspect of it is, if we're not hanging out with one another, then it's hard to see each other's perspective. And then that leads to significant problems. And then you see the Zimmerman case, and you have one juror who seemed to have totally identified with George Zimmerman, another one that identified a lot more with Trayvon Martin, and they almost couldn't see each other's perspective.
Yeah, we've kind of hit this place with race relations where, of course, we've made great strides, but we haven't eliminated racism, and I feel like we're kind of stuck in this rut. And I realize that the reason why we aren't able to solve all of our race issues is because of the self-segregation. When it comes to gay rights, I mean, they've made tremendous strides, and part of the reason why is because you can't segregate gays and straight people. You see what I'm saying? Like, everyone has like a coworker, a friend, a family member, someone who comes out eventually, and then you're kind of forced to accept it. Whereas with race, you can self-segregate.
Well, the most important part of that is family member, because it's harder, it has two aspects. One, it's harder to segregate your son or your daughter away. They're your son or your daughter, right? And so it's hard to reject them. Now, some hateful people still do, but then you identify with them. Well, if he's gay, and so much of my identity is tied up in my kids, then I guess I don't feel so bad. Plus, obviously, since it's not connected to ethnicity at all, they pop up everywhere.
Yeah, and look, even with friends, you might have a really great relationship with someone, and you get to know them, and you become close, and then later on you find out, hey, my friend's actually gay, and then all of a sudden it kind of like, you know, it might flick a switch in your head, and you're like, this is crazy. Why am I demonizing this group of people?
I got it. So the answer is black people pretend you're white, and then like 20 years later be like, surprise, I'm black. And then people are like, oh,
You're just like us.
okay, Bob is black. Oh, why? Well, look at that. Okay, I guess black people are all right.
All right, so I want to give some props to the Hispanic community because they're actually the best when it comes to avoiding segregation. Of course, I want to
really?
give props to the Hispanic community for other reasons too.
There's no bigger Latino fan in America than Eric Hispanic.
Okay. Only 1 out of 10 do not have friends of a different race. So out of all races, Hispanics actually do best when it comes to desegregation. About 50% are in a relationship with non-Hispanics compared to 1 out of 10 of whites and blacks in relationships.
Wow, that's a huge number.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, you're right. Props to Latinos,
Definitely.
man. They're going to make the whole world brown, by the way, with this.